back. We are Synergy Bonus. Three guys getting drunk to talk about games. I am Vigorax. This is Thrict, and in between us two, the one and only Spoony Paladin.
Damn Spoony Bard.
No, Paladin. Been blessed by the silverware gods.
Multi-classed.
Paladin Bard. No.
There's actually a prestige class that requires that.
Really?
Yeah.
Speaking of prestige classes.
Prestige classes and cross-classing. Today we are talking about Dungeons & Dragons 3.75.
Or more accurately known as Pathfinder.
Pathfinder, the role-playing game by Paizo
Paizo.
Publishing.
Don't mess up my tabs.
Paizo.
Yeah.
Made it easier to find stuff.
And in this book there were some tabs. Paizo.
Actually, this was a great idea on Greg's part here.
I started doing it to Shadowrun as well.
My inner bibliophile cringes at it. I mean, it's very useful, but...
Alternatively, there could be a logical setup to books.
That's too much to ask for.
That's heresy.
Also, everyone should have their own book.
Wrong system. No heresy here.
Oh, no. There is heresy.
Well, I don't know that everyone needs their own core book, but there should be like a player's guide that everyone should have a copy of to read. Mm-hmm. You know, that has the important stuff. But we'll get into that. Pathfinder, as we said, is a variant on Dungeons & Dragons put together by a team of developers from Dungeons & Dragons who've been working on 3.5. And back around 2007, when D&D 4th edition was announced, and they were talking about getting rid of the open gaming license and so on, these guys who were working in Paizo Publishing, who have been producing Dungeon and Dragon magazine.
Not Dungeon Magazine.
Not Dungeon Magazine.
Dungeon and Dragon. Dragon Magazine was the other one.
Right. Got together and went, 4th edition with the open gaming license being gone and all that is kind of... It's changing the spirit of the game. It's changing how things work. It's not a good direction. And Wizards is like, we don't care.
We make money selling books.
Yeah. People will be brand loyal. And they were.
No. I left.
Well, a lot of people were. They can't see that.
You cut off your collection of 4th edition books, did you?
Not on purpose.
The collection of books that Greg won't touch.
4th edition heretic.
Okay, to be fair...
Shun the non-believer.
To be fair, 4th edition was fun for a little while.
If you want to play World of Warcraft, go play World of Warcraft.
For a little... You ran some 4th edition game. I don't want to hear it, fucker.
If you want to play World of Warcraft...
You sent a freaking... What is it? The Dracolich after us? Jesus Christ.
And I just get my kicks off on throwing random mimics at people.
Fourth
Your
edition,
mimics do more damage than my Dracolich did, by the way.
But, by the way, Greg's very much correct. 4th edition is basically World of Warcraft.
The tabletop game. And not even the one that we played. I think you have that book, too.
I do have that. It's actually right next to the 4th edition.
4th edition refocused on the combat and the dungeon crawling, and in those aspects and in those guards, it is a phenomenal system.
It's number crunching.
Minis and number crunching.
Minis and number crunching. If you'd like to do anything else, like role-playing or intrigue or social combat, forget it. It's not in this game.
It's on the back burner. It's on the back burner.
The storytelling. There's no story beyond... And in the next room, there are 4 kobolds with poison, which is where Pathfinder comes into play. Pathfinder said, screw that noise. We're going to turn around and improve on 3.5 that's already there, make it backwards compatible with 3.5.
Which actually makes for some very broken builds that used to be very complex to work in.
Correct a lot of the builds because there were... In 3.5, there was really no good reason to stick with a single class all the way from level 1 through 20. And the designers at Paizo thought this was an issue, so they turned around and went, why don't we fix the classes and take out the dead levels and...
Give you abilities that actually reward you for staying in a class all the way.
Yeah.
Prestige classes are still a thing, but they're very rare, they're very situational, and in most cases, they're not going to be better.
Honestly...
Unlike... 4th edition in particular, but also 3.5, where prestiging was eventually a necessity.
Dead levels were just like the bane of my existence in 3.5. It's like, hey, I leveled up. What'd you get?
Nothing.
Skill points, some HP, and that's it. No new spells, no new abilities, no new feats, no new nothing. Just here's a few more skills.
It's like,
here's a few more
leveled
HP.
Up. Technically, I'm better, but not.
Not really.
Your base attack bonus went up, maybe. Your saving throws went up, maybe. You got skill points and hit
skill
points.
Points and hit points, yeah.
And
I mean, there are some dungeon masters who can work around and make a game based on skill points, but at that point, why are we playing Dungeons and Dragons?
I have to say, this game I feel is like more math heavy.
Oh, it's still a 3-5 variant, so it's very math heavy.
It's math heavy, but it's more user friendly. It's simple for someone who can just pick up the book. I want to play this class. All right, here's a little blurb about it, and yeah, it's going to take a while to generate a character, but not as long as it could take.
And it's not even getting into all the really tweaking stuff like dealing with archetypes, which is their equivalency of like the variant classes. There's enough books of archetypes where each class is now basically 1,000 classes in its own.
I'm sorry.
Traits.
I'm just yawning over
Do
here.
we bore you?
No, I had 3 hours of sleep. I had work today. It's one of those days.
He thinks we're boring.
We are boring.
We play games, so yeah, we're boring people. We've all run some Pathfinder games here.
Yeah.
Like Trav was saying, it makes for a good storytelling system. Unlike I almost said 4 or 5, like 4th edition. Plus the interchangeableness, so you can just tack on other settings.
Like I'm using
Greg's using Forgotten Realms. Our one friend, he uses the Ravenloft setting,
which isn't even 3.5. That's 3.0.
Yeah,
but it works.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Spelljammer and Dark Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are not getting that Spelljammer working.
I don't need to get that Spelljammer working. I just need to get a copy of the book for Spelljammer, put it in Jordan's hands, and away we go.
We're gonna get eaten by giant miniature space hamsters and killed by hippo men.
Yep.
With guns.
Hippo men are lawful good. Oh yeah, that's why they kill us.
Our group?
Yeah, we tend to skew towards chaotic stupid, but...
Yeah. not gonna.
Which is why the GM's just like, fuck it, this is what you're dealing with tonight. Let's see how stupid this is.
Synergy happens.
No. Synergy happens when we play Shadowrun.
This is very true. I don't know. Pathfinder's just it's flexible. It's very flexible, and it's. The other day, actually, I had some downtime, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try building an Inquisitor. I rolled up some stats, and I like. These are really average stats. I had 2 good stats, and then I had an 8. And I'm like, where am I going to put the 8?
Inquisitor? Constitution.
Yeah. Depending on the race you pick, you know.
I hadn't decided on that yet either.
Which is another thing that they kind of tweaked, and I'm of mixed emotions about this. I understand mechanically why it works this way. In 3.0 and 3.5, a lot of races... took a penalty to certain stats to represent something about that race. Half-orcs were less intelligent, so they take a penalty to intelligence. Nobody likes dwarves, apparently, because they're gruff and standoffish, so they take a penalty to charisma. And as Thrict will tell us over and over again, why are you playing a half-elf?
There is no actual reason to play a half-elf in 3.0, 3.5, and even 2nd edition,
for the
other than role-playing. You gain no benefits. You gain... low light vision, a +2 on saving throws versus sleep and manipulation spells, and you might, depending on the type, get proficiency with elven weaponry. But statistically, you suck.
People play half-elves because they don't want to play an elf and they just want to be a prettier human.
Hi, Lavina.
I'm special because I have a mixed
ancestry.
I said hi, Lavina.
Hi, Lavina!
Every character I remember Lavina playing was an elf or a half-elf.
Maybe.
And they were pretty boys. Oh, no, that's right. She played Tiefling once.
Yeah, I was going to say Tiefling is what I remember. Now I'm tragic because I'm cursed with demon blood.
Why are the villagers trying to kill me?
You're a Tiefling!
You're a Tiefling and you
have
took the
horns.
feet to give you demon wings.
You have wings, horns, and a tail. What do you think?
As far as like classes and stuff go, they kind of... Like you said, they refine them and tighten them up and whatnot.
One of the things they tried to address but didn't properly, just because it's that much of a fundamental issue, is one of the issues that's been in D&D for a while is linear warriors, quadratic wizards. Warriors always improve at a static incline. Mages suck for a while. Then they gain access to level 4 spells. And from there, goodbye. If you're not playing a mage after that point, why are you even showing up to the table?
To roleplay. To stand in front of the mage while he casts his big spells.
That's because he doesn't know Orb of Invulnerability yet. Once he gets that,
Or
you're
some sort of meta magic feast to hasten his casting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They revamped some classes that just didn't work previously, like the Duskblade in 3.5.
It's an interesting idea.
It's now the Magus class in Pathfinder, and the Magus is the Duskblade done right. Mm-hmm. They got rid of one class, the Marshal, which I'd like to see what they were going to do with it, but it's the Bard variant in 4th edition.
Oh. That's you can say that about a lot of Pathfinder. It's just 3.5 edition done correctly. It's an interesting thing how it came about. Like we said, this all started in 2007. It didn't hit shelves until 2009. Prior to that, they did what's called an open playtest model, which basically means that Paizo would put out some new rules and stuff to a bunch of beta testers and let them play with the material and roll with it and so on. And then get feedback from those playtesters, and that's how they would edit the book and balance the game to make it better.
It's actually very common with the companies like Ryan and I used to actually playtest Shadowrun source books.
Yep.
I forgot if Doug was in it or not.
Yep. Running Wild, Dawn of the Artifacts.
Yep. The Artifacts trilogy module.
You'll actually find these guys listed as playtesters in the books mentioned. Yep. In the credits.
I
of course, was working because I had a life.
I was working too. I just worked my work schedule. Right?
I did too, and when we got done with work, we'd play. Quite often, many things like we would
or drink.
You were also roommates at the time. That made it a little easier.
It did. Yeah, it really did. And I've had a lot of fun playing Pathfinder, more so than I think 3.5 or whatnot. I mean, 3.5 I had fun with. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, but like I was just. The first tabletop I played was Shadowrun, and then we did D&D, and D&D just was like, oh my god, all these numbers and things, like building a character just was headache inducing for that. And like it's like, hey, I want to build this character, and I had to have a lot of help making the character because it's like, well, if you take this, it's not going to be beneficial until this level, so you shouldn't take it now, even though it looks beneficial here. And just
not to mention, like in 3.5 edition, thanks to Monty Cook's involvement, there are a bunch of trap feats and skills and talents that actually
Sneaky gives you +2 to move silently and hide. Worthless feat.
Toughness, get 3 hit points.
They've revised toughness. Toughness is
Pathfinder,
now awesome.
Where they fixed it, yes. But we're not talking about the fixed one. We're talking about 3.5 and where Doug was encountering all the headache character building because there's deliberate stuff in it that looks good to trap
a lot of
players.
Stuff to just slog through.
That too.
Like, and by the time I started playing it, like there were so many different like books out, so many different classes and whatnot, and it was just very, very overwhelming. Again, Pathfinder, they kind of wrangled it in, tightened it up, refined stuff. Now I can whip out a character pretty fast, actually, and like I know where I'm going with things. My problem now is it's like I look at the feats and like these all fucking suck. They don't do anything I want them to do, and I wish I could take this feat and put it something that I can't stack. So.
No, that's where you get more source books that'll let you start doing stuff.
That was the actual problem with Toma. I was looking at the feats. I'm like, I don't want any of these, and I actually had to look.
Meta Magic.
I looked in a couple different books. I even looked at some of the Meta Magic, and I mean, yeah, there's some of it that seems decent enough, but I want to wait on that.
Yeah. Well, Meta Magic is the nice thing that you just take it, and it works long term. Mm-hmm. It's not tied to a specific level or specific spell. It's just I now have the ability to do this in my spells.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, spellcasters for me, always seemed overwhelming. And the character I'm playing, he is the Magnificent Toma. He is my first spellcaster. He's an oracle. Greg actually did help me set him up because spells, again, were just kind of overwhelming. I've got the hang of it now, and it's a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. And now it's just
welcome to Divine Magic.
And now it's just like, what do I want? This and that and whatnot. But like, I've had a lot of fun playing the character. Because the other, in 3.5, a lot of the characters I played were basically I hit things with a sword, and that's all I do. What special abilities do I do? I hit things with a sword.
And now I hit them harder.
Now I get mad and I hit really hard.
Now sometimes I hit one hard enough that it carries through and hits the guy next to him.
If it's evil, I really hit it hard.
Yeah, so those kind of straight-up melee classes didn't require a lot of thinking and still don't require a lot of thinking.
They just needed to be buffed up to actually counter how magic works.
I was going to go along the lines of anybody can play them, but it takes a bit of skill and thinking to play them well.
Or just to make them overpowered.
Right. Conversely, Pathfinder, you can play pretty much anything without too much thought involved. Again, you still need practice and skill. And
you can still make some very stupid choices that are going to screw you up, like choosing a ranger focused on crossbows and then building properly where you should be using a longbow instead. Because crossbows suck.
But I fell in love with the gunslinger class because I like range classes, but like some of the gunslinger abilities are just amazing. Like they're very utility and they work well. I've just started experimenting.
Also kind of cinematic, like where he pulls out his gun and shoots open a lock as his pick lock feed.
Yeah. As I said, I've started getting the spellcasting stuff, so I'm touching on these different characters. Like I said, I was building an Inquisitor. Greg here, he actually built a Magus character to kind of reflect like a Simon Belmont style character.
And Ryan told me that it was a horrible build, I should never do it, and I'm sitting there going like, I can cast Shocking Grasp as a melee spell and hit you 15 feet away. You don't get to counter me. Also, I'm still doing whip damage, and if I get to about level 5, I can trip you while I'm electrocuting you.
Into a pool of water.
No.
But too much?
It's one of those, like, if you know what you're doing, it is broken.
Yeah. Like
you're just going to suck for the first 4 levels.
You can really just kind of make that character that you envision in your mind. He wanted to make a Belmont-style character.
It was specifically going to be Husted.
And there you go. Like, Trav here, he's played some pretty neat characters lately. He's done an Alchemist.
We were doing a Ravenloft-inspired campaign, and if you haven't heard our previous cast, Ravenloft is basically the horror element. It takes a lot of classic monsters and classic horror motifs and throws them all together with some Cthulhu-inspired madness checks. And we were putting together a pirate's ship crew, because we fall back on the old trope of the main story is boring, too difficult, fucking let's go be pirates. So our GM went, screw it, you're starting off as pirates.
That's because actually when we were getting ready to do it, I was talking to him and he was like, okay, the problem is we're going to get to the point where we're just going to say, let's be pirates. Like, why don't we just be pirates?
Yeah. But we got to the point where we're trying to figure out roles and all that. We needed a healer. Thing is, divine magic doesn't work very well in Ravenloft. Magic in general. So you need a different type of healer. And I found one that it's still magical, but not. It's an alchemist subspecialty archetype that's the surgeon. And it's all about making healing potions and making healing bullets for the gunslinger. And
I shoot you and you get healed.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Unless you use the wrong bullet, and then in which case he shoots you and you start vomiting spiders.
Oh,
that was so much fun.
We're going to do an episode of like little war stories, and we'll just kind of talk about some of the unique things that have happened, such as the vomiting spiders.
But the other side, beyond mixing potions, was that the alchemist has what it's called a mutagen ability. It's basically Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I'm sitting here going, this is a horror-based story. We've got sort of a
There's
Victorian...
rules for it.
Yeah, we've got sort of a Victorian kind of feel going on. And this allows me to switch back and forth from being a healer to being a frontline melee combatant. All right. I did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen time.
Go from being neutral good to chaotic evil whenever you drink a potion.
Whenever I drink my mutagen, the potions themselves are neutral.
And
except for that spider or vomit swarm spell.
That's probably evil incarnate.
right now, Greg's running a Forgotten Realms setting with Pathfinder.
Homebrewed, but based Forgotten Realms.
Little of this, little of that. We took what we liked.
To complement the Oracle, we have a summoner here with his tiny spectral mammoth. And
He's not spectral. He's just small.
He's technically not really a mammoth. He's a thought form.
It's true.
it's an oxymoron.
The tiny thought form mammoth.
He's an Idolian.
But like
He's
you've got other neat summons too, like summon shark.
Fucking tree!
Summoner,
You can do the Sharknado.
I could.
He's
Wind
got his
wall,
wind wall,
summon
summon shark.
Well, that's happening now.
It's gotta happen now.
And you know, Jenny's going to be sent the transcript of that episode.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a friend that hates
Oh,
Sharknado
but
with a
I
passion.
love it.
The Summoner is a class. It's an arcane caster like a wizard that's focused specifically on using summon monster spells. Got a very Pokemon Master feel to it.
Final Fantasy summoners.
Well, that too, but you know. But it's like, okay, these guys are all up there fighting. I don't have any offensive magic, but I'm gonna cast Summon Dire Rat and have the rat run in and fight for me. And I don't even know how the idea came to me. I just like, you get to pick one permanent customizable summon, and I went Tiny Mastodon.
Okay, Billy.
Zach. Billy was Triceratops.
Okay. No, I thought Billy was the blue guy.
And
Billy's
the
the
guy was
guy.
the Triceratops.
Oh.
Mastodon was black.
Okay.
It's the Black Ranger.
It's in that one.
It actually has been that long. 1996, I think.
I don't.
Oof.
Back on track.
Yeah.
My trusty steed Tangent. No.
Never takes you where you want to go.
Yeah. And it just so turned out with the way the build went that for the first few levels, the little tiny mammoth was the best tank in the group.
Still also hard to hit.
Yeah.
And we've been playing this setting that he's come up with for quite a while.
Just over a year. We actually just had our anniversary 2 weeks ago.
Cool. To the point where our characters have.
A small kingdom.
Yep. And
It's
actually,
a county, really.
county, but like Greg's actually found some additional rules to do our.
Because I was just rolling. Jordan says, I want to do this now. Okay. Delete that sentence later.
But there's a system in place now, and like it's very nice. Like everything about this game is the setting.
The system, yeah, the setting and all that.
The setting is, I can tell you, but
It's-
then everything would suddenly make sense and you'd realize where the plot's been taking you.
Yeah, no.
That's alright.
The Ultimate Campaign guide I just picked up has a section, a chapter for it. It's all about building, running, and maintaining the kingdom, and then large-scale combat within kingdom to kingdom and all that. Based loosely off of the Kingmaker game.
Module.
But we'll come to that another time, because we're about to
Yeah.
go play through that and see how that goes. And we'll let you know how it turns out.
Mm-hmm. But if you're just getting into tabletops and you want that fantasy setting, Pathfinder, it's very pick up and go.
I might go and say
what's
start
it-
with D&D 5 and then switch over to Pathfinder just because D&D 5's got less math and everything.
That's true.
It's
D&D
something to
5's
what
got
you're...
less everything. It's the
Yeah.
expansion that was a contraction.
Yeah.
D&D 5th edition is the Warlords of Draenor of...
But if you've never played a tabletop RPG, it's here, get your feet wet. This is the deep end. This is the okay. Now, as long as you have an idea of what you're doing and know how to do it, it'll work.
And Spoonie's partially right. Like the default setting for Pathfinder is very high fantasy, Tolkien-esque, your elves, your dwarves, whatever. But if you start getting into stuff like there's a very popular pre-made storyline called the Jade Emperor, and it's
Actually played through part of it.
It's
Ninja Vikings.
Oh my.
Yeah, it starts you in your fantasy
Sandpoint.
Sandpoint, the basic inn on the Dagger Coast, and in your standard high fantasy with some pirates thrown in for good measure. Then you travel north and you meet fantasy Vikings and like all kinds of.
Then you
Norse
go
monsters
further
and so on.
north, and then you have
And then
ninjas.
You keep going, and it becomes a very East Asia flair with ninjas and samurai and like a whole bunch of Japanese and Chinese and Vietnamese monsters, and it's phenomenal. It's all over, and this is the kind of stuff that the D&D settings don't do. They don't have that. I mean, they have like, oh, here's an extra chart where you can have stats for these type of weapons. Like, if you want shuriken, just use throwing knife stats. And if you want...
Forgotten Realms actually does its own sub-campaign book. Yeah. It's Karatur. It's the far East Coast. But it's like, it rarely comes up. It's just, hey, you want to play a samurai game? Well, there's Karatur over there. You want to play a Mesoamerican game? There's Mazteca. Oh, no, wait, they removed that from continuity.
Well, now I want to play it.
It literally is. If you're not from that island, you're a conquistador.
Okay, now I really want to play that setting. All right.
Some bad shit went down. Just have to know history to understand what.
Yeah. You have died of dysentery.
You also, raped virgins.
Still want to play it. All right. Well, we're kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I would really recommend anyone who wants to get into tabletop RPGs to play Pathfinder. I know for the GMs it can be a lot of not overwhelming, just
paperwork,
over-exhausting.
Paperwork.
It's a lot of just bogged down from all the paperwork. But
You're basically writing 6 different novels, and then as soon as the players get to the table, throwing all those notes away because they're going to go off into left field.
You're pulling pages from each one and just going, and people are like, what's actually going on? I don't even know!
Like, as far as this stuff, I don't mind it because it's something I'm familiar with. It's something I can easily be like, hey, we're going to play Pathfinder tonight. This is what's going on. Okay, give me a second. I can come up with a character. And it's done. It's not something that I have to really just be like, I don't know what I want to make. I'm sitting here whatnot. And it's just a game I don't get tired of. Because we've had some long-standing campaigns, and I would recommend it to anyone, honestly.
From the GM standpoint, I do write 4 different stories for whichever plot line we're doing for the month. Mm-hmm. And then last week, this is why you guys just got thrown into a dungeon. After we did the whole, let's look at the ultimate campaign and actually build this, like, well, shit, there goes the next 4 stories I had written that were going to be involved with taking your kingdom away.
But we did have a plague event.
Yeah, you do have a plague. We'll see if it comes up. It will.
And what about you, Trev?
I'm gonna say that this isn't where I would start any rookie.
It's a lot of math. You have to do a lot of thinking.
I mean, it's less math than like 3.5.
It's less math than Shadowrun.
Yeah. But if you're a rookie just looking to get into tabletop in the first place, I'd suggest like a D10 system. Grab something White Wolf or
just don't be a fish milk.
Yeah. Once you started playing anything White Wolf, you'll understand why. But if you're looking for a much better experience, or you're looking for that fantasy experience, I would take Pathfinder over the traditional D&Ds any day of the week. It's a very solid system. It's a very colorful and fun system. Get some miniatures.
It's also very dark.
Yeah. Minis help. Minis help a lot. Just
it's possible to play this game without any miniatures.
But
it will make everybody's life, particularly the Dungeon Master's life, a million times easier.
With line of sight, obstructions.
If you get some miniatures.
This is actually the first game where we actually went out and bought a map, got markers and everything, and finally sat down saying, okay, we're not pulling this. I was here 5 feet ago. No, you're here.
I mean, Dungeons & Dragons has its origins in old tabletop war games. Sort of like a Warhammer-y kind of thing. And this kind of throws back to that nicely when you finally get into combat and there's stuff happening and you're standing in water and you're in a peat bog and you're up on that ridge and get the miniatures.
You're technically always supposed to have had them. We just never did.
Yeah.
Well, we were always poor.
And I'm gonna say this: actually, having the miniatures has made combat better.
Yep.
I realize with some of my abilities, like this person's way over here, I can get to them with this because of the range increments and the cones and all this sort of stuff.
A bunch of spells that seemed useless without the miniatures, with them and a visual.
Everything helps. Oh yeah. So
You walk through this, make an acrobatics check, or you're going prone.
Greece is fantastic. Every time they give us a few more euros. That was my.
We need a couple of more now. We had a party.
anyways,
We won't have any more parties.
We'd love to hear your stories, as always. What's your take on Pathfinder if you've played it? If you've never played a tabletop, do you want to play a tabletop? What setting are you looking to do?
Aces and Minotaurs.
Oh my. Just
Also, a challenge. Try to top a tree crane paladin who bites people's heads off when he figures out they're evil. Joe.
That's all you had to say.
We'll be revisiting Pathfinder again for some of our war stories and whatnot.
Also, at some point, we will sit down and go over part of the extended character creation and ultimate campaign because they put charts and tables in, and we're suckers for those.
Actually, also, Pathfinder came out with a card game for the Sandpoint.
Oh, yeah. Not just that. It was a Skull and Shackles campaign, and they have another one now, too.
So they've got all of the Rise of the Rune Lord series.
Yep, I actually have one of those, and maybe we'll do an episode on that. There's a lot to talk about with Pathfinder. This is just kind of...
And Skull and Shackles has also been made into a mobile game for your phone.
Mobile games are bad, so just remember that. With that, have a good night.
Mobile game, bad!